Well, it's great to have so many people here so early in the morning.
It's been 17 years to get to this point. I don't know, I really believe in the future of space, and I think it's important that we become a spacefaring civilization and be out there among the stars. And I think that's one of the things that makes people excited about the future. And we want the things that are in science fiction novels and movies not to be science fiction forever. We want them to be real one day. Well, it's the whole goal of SpaceX was crewed spaceflight and improve space exploration technology. That's actually the full name of the company, is Space Exploration Technologies. So the goal is to improve space exploration technology, and that's with the view towards helping make humanity a spacefaring civilization. It's been 17 years. We still haven't launched anyone yet, but hopefully we will later this year. So that would definitely be the culmination of a long dream for a lot of people.
How much does it add to the satisfaction of seeing your rocket launch from the moon pads, the shuttle pads, and here you are in the firing room used by NASA for so many years and traditions? I mean, does that just add to the pleasure? Talk about that.
And then SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary.
And doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo.
And ultimately make a contribution to life becoming multiplanetary.
I would never believe that this would ever happen. Yeah, I just think, the humanity landing on the moon, man, that was maybe the greatest thing ever. So I can't believe we're launching from that pad. Thank you for letting us do that.
Thank you for refurbishing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to believe. It's incredible history. Hope we go back to the moon soon.
That's the goal.
Yeah. We should have a base on the moon, like a permanently occupied human base on the moon, and send people to Mars.
And build a city on Mars. That's what we should do. And build a city on Mars.
And they said, "Go to, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach unto heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth."
So I'll go ahead and close it out. We just heard Elon say he'd be interested in having a permanent presence on the moon.
For sure, we should do it.
Well, that's the very first space policy directive given by the President of the United States to me as the NASA administrator, that we're going to go to the moon and we're going to go sustainably. So what that means is when we say sustainably, that means we're going to stay. And of course, the objective here is not just humans, but also landers and rovers and robots and humans, and utilizing our international partners and utilizing our commercial partners. And there's no doubt SpaceX has some really amazing ideas about what they could help us do at the moon and what they could help the coalition of international partners do as we develop this together. But the President's Space Policy Directive is clear. We're going to the moon. We're going sustainably. We're going with international partners. We're going with commercial partners. We're going to utilize the resources of the moon. That's a critically important part of the agenda. Why? We have to be able to live and work on another world for long periods of time. We have to be able to use those resources of another world, which is, of course, a great opportunity for us to prove those capabilities and technologies on the moon, because as it happens, Mars and Earth are only aligned once every 26 months on the same side of the sun, which means when we go to Mars, which I know is high on Elon's agenda and it's high on NASA's agenda, When we go to Mars, we have to be there for long periods of time. So we have to figure out how to do in situ resource utilization. And then ultimately we need to prove all of this out at the moon, which is a 3-day journey from Earth, which means we have a risk mitigation capability right there. We've seen what happens with Apollo 13. When something goes wrong, you can get home. If something goes wrong on the way to Mars, it becomes a lot more difficult. And so that's why the moon matters. It's why the moon is so important. It's the proving ground. And then at the end, we want to take all those technologies, all those capabilities. We want to retire the risk and go to Mars. There's great alignment between NASA and our commercial partners. And as we're seeing now with our international partners, just yesterday, I don't even know what day it is. It's like 2 days ago, I guess now, we had a great announcement from Canada. And they announced that they're going to be with us for the next 24 years in our sustainable return to the moon. And that's the kind of long-term, enduring commitment that we need. We need to grow the international partnership, and that means the partners that are currently there, we need them to help us at a bigger level. The International Space Station, amazing development that has proven the concept. We need to grow it. We need every piece of the architecture between the Earth and the moon to include our international partners. It's not just about Gateway, it's not just about the International Space Station, but it's about the entire exploration agenda in 3 different theaters that includes low Earth orbit, that includes the moon, and it includes Mars. And putting together a grand bargain, if you will, between our international partners and our commercial partners in a way that can be transformative for generations to come, so that we can have that permanent presence of humans on another world, starting with the moon and eventually Mars. And
Absolutely.
it's a bright future right now. And I will say this, and I say this every time I have the opportunity to talk to an audience, and with all the cameras here, it's more important than ever. The President's first budget request increased our budget at NASA by $1 billion, which was about a 5% increase. And then even before I got sworn in as the NASA administrator, a bipartisan Congress in both the House and the Senate plussed us up by $1.7 billion. So I thought I was coming in to advocate for a bigger budget, and in fact, by the time I got there, it was actually smaller than what Congress had already given us, which is a really good problem for NASA to have. And interestingly, today, as Elon and I were out on the launch pad 39A, we had a conversation about why he got involved in this to begin with, and it was to inspire America to increase NASA's budget because of the return we get on those activities. Now, it is true, the idea that we can put humans on another world for long periods of time is great, but the benefits humanity has received from space exploration in general is immeasurable. The return on investment we get from that as a nation, and in fact as a world, the way we communicate, all of these cameras, DirecTV, Dish Network, internet broadband from space. I see a lot of people here that can put this on the internet. We talk about XM radio, for example, but the way we communicate, the way we navigate, the way we produce food. I was recently at the Ag Expo, and we're sensing the Earth in every part of the electromagnetic spectrum, and because of that we can increase crop yields, we can reduce water usage, at the same time we can preserve nitrates in the soil, feeding more of the world than ever before because of what NASA does. That's an amazing capability, and we didn't develop the satellites for that purpose. But because we have that data, we can share it, not only with the United States farmers, but around the world. We saved tens of millions of dollars in disaster relief that would have gone to Uganda, but because we were able to predict ahead of time a disaster situation developing, we could mitigate and save not only money for us in the form of aid, but also lives in Uganda. But the way we produce food, the way we understand weather, the way we understand climate, the way we do national security and disaster relief, all of these things were born. It's born from this little agency that occupies less than 0.5% of the federal budget. And the return on that has been astonishing. So the idea that this event today was born from a concept of how do we encourage Americans to increase the NASA budget? Friends, we have that opportunity right now, and it is in fact happening with bipartisan support in Congress and support from the administration. So we're at a great time. Today's event was amazing to watch, and over the next 5 days we're going to see a lot more milestones be achieved, and certainly as an agency and as a country and really as a world with our international partners, we're going to be able to do more than ever before. So I just want to thank everybody with the TV cameras and the iPhones. Get this message to the world. It's an important message, and I'm so grateful for all of you being here and covering this very important achievement in American history. So thank you guys so much.